My name is Sarah Foster, and I'm 58 years old. What happened at my lottery celebration dinner still makes headlines today. How a mother's greatest joy turned into her family's most shocking betrayal, all captured on 40 smartphones in a packed restaurant. When my son Michael stood up with that envelope, claiming he had a surprise for me, I thought it would be a heartfelt card. Instead, it contained his wife's $900,000 debt and her demand that I pay it all. The wine she threw in my face was cold, but not as cold as the revenge I served that night. 2 people fainted, 1 went to federal prison, and I discovered that sometimes you need to lose your family to find yourself. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. The lottery ticket was a joke gift from my coworker Emily, $1 scratched off during lunch break 3 weeks ago. $2 million. After taxes, about $1.2 million, but still more money than I'd ever dreamed of holding. For 3 days, I told no one, just stared at that ticket hidden in my late husband Tom's Bible. You see, I'd been living with my son Michael and his wife Jessica for 3 years, ever since Tom passed from cancer. "Just until you get back on your feet, Mom," Michael had promised. But Jessica? She had other ideas. Every morning started with her sighs when I entered the kitchen. "Oh, you're up early again," she'd say, that fake smile plastered on her face. I was hoping to have some quiet time. The comments were constant. "Your mother's doctor appointments are really cutting into my schedule. We can't renovate the guest room while it's occupied. Michael, how long is temporary exactly?" She kept a notebook. I'd seen it once, tracking every penny they spent because of me. Groceries, utilities, even the extra water for my daily shower. "Just for tax purposes," she'd explained when I caught her writing in it, but her eyes said something else entirely. The night I claimed the lottery, I sat in my tiny guest room, surrounded by boxes I'd never fully unpacked because Jessica said it cluttered the space. Michael knocked softly. "Mom, you okay?" "Jessica made dinner, but she says if you're not hungry, she can save your portion for tomorrow." I looked at him, my sweet boy who'd become a stranger under his wife's thumb, and made a decision. "Actually, honey, I have some news. How about we plan a celebration dinner this weekend? My treat." The way his eyes lit up broke my heart. When had a simple dinner become such a rare gift? I booked the Grandview Restaurant's private dining room for Saturday night. 40 guests, open bar, the works. When I told Michael and Jessica, their reactions couldn't have been more different. "Mom, that's too expensive," Michael protested, but his smile betrayed his excitement. Jessica's eyes, however, turned calculating. "Well, if you're paying, we should invite the right people. My colleagues from the firm, the Henderson family, people who matter." She paused, tapping her manicured nails. "What's the occasion?" "Just feeling grateful," I said simply. Over the next 3 days, Jessica transformed. Suddenly, I wasn't the burden in the guest room anymore. She brought me coffee, asked about my day, even suggested we go shopping together. "You'll need something nice for Saturday," she cooed. "Can't have you embarrassing us. I mean yourself." Michael seemed thrilled by the change. "See, Mom? I told you Jessica would warm up eventually." But I noticed things. Whispered phone calls that ended when I entered. Jessica huddled over her laptop, quickly closing it when anyone approached. Michael signing papers without reading them, just nodding when Jessica said, "It's nothing, honey, just refinancing stuff." I made my own preparations. Called Robert Martinez, my late husband's best friend and our family lawyer for 30 years. "Robert, I need you at the dinner Saturday, and bring those documents we discussed." "Are you sure about this, Sarah?" His voice carried concern. "I've never been more sure of anything." The morning of the dinner, Jessica was practically glowing. She'd bought a new dress, designer of course, and had her hair professionally styled. "Tonight's going to be special," she kept saying. "Really special." Michael pulled me aside. "Mom, I have something planned for tonight. A surprise. Jessica helped me with it. You're going to be so happy." My stomach twisted, but I smiled. "I'm sure I will be, sweetheart." The Grandview's private rooms sparkled with crystal chandeliers and candlelight. 40 guests mingled with champagne glasses. Emily from work, neighbors, church friends, and yes, Jessica's important people, who kept checking their phones and looking bored. I stood to give a toast, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Thank you all for coming. These past 3 years have taught me so much about family, about resilience, and about knowing who truly loves you. Jessica raised her glass high, that practiced smile wider than ever. To family, she called out, and everyone echoed her. The dinner was perfect. Prime rib, fresh salmon, wines I couldn't pronounce. Jessica held court at her end of the table, laughing too loudly, touching her new diamond earrings repeatedly so everyone would notice them. Michael kept fidgeting, patting his jacket pocket, glancing at his wife for reassurance. As dessert arrived, chocolate soufflé and champagne, Michael suddenly stood, clinking his glass with a spoon. The room fell silent. Everyone, I want to say something. His voice shook slightly. My mother is the most generous person I know. She's always put family first, always sacrificed for others. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a white envelope. Mom, Jessica and I have a surprise for you. The envelope felt heavier than paper should. The room watched, phones already rising to capture the moment. Jessica stood too, moving beside her husband, her smile sharp as glass. Go on, Sarah, she urged. Open it. Don't keep everyone waiting. My fingers trembled, not from fear, but from the absolute certainty of what was coming. I slid my finger under the seal, pulled out the papers inside, and saw exactly what I'd expected. Debt consolidation agreement. Amount owed, $900,000. The silence that followed was deafening. Can you believe what's happening? A son giving his mother a surprise at her own celebration. But what kind of surprise involves an envelope full of debt? If you've ever felt betrayed by family over money, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Your support means everything as I share this difficult story. I still remember the weight of that paper in my hands, the way 40 pairs of eyes watched me process what my own son had just done. Now, let me tell you what was really in that envelope and what Jessica said next. The papers shook in my hands as I read them aloud. Debt consolidation agreement. Primary borrower, Jessica Foster. Co-signer required, Sarah Foster. Amount, $900,000. Gasps rippled through the room. Emily dropped her wine glass. The Henderson family exchanged shocked looks. Phones came out, recording everything. Jessica stepped forward, her voice cutting through the murmurs. It's quite simple, really. You've been living in our house for 3 years. Free room, free board, free everything. We've calculated the cost. She pulled out her notebook. That damned notebook. Rent, food, utilities, transportation, medical insurance contributions. It comes to about $300,000. That's not $900,000, someone called out. Jessica's smile turned predatory. No, but the emotional labor, the stress on our marriage, the opportunities we've missed because we had to care for her, that's worth far more. This debt, she tapped the papers, is from my business ventures. Failed because I was too distracted playing caretaker. Michael stood silent, his face pale, eyes fixed on the floor. You won lottery money, Jessica continued, her voice rising. $2 million, and you were going to what? Keep it all? After everything we've done for you? Robert Martinez started recording on his phone. Several guests did the same. So, you want me to pay your business debts? I asked, my voice surprisingly calm. You owe us! Jessica's mask finally slipped completely. You got rich living in my house, eating my food, using my resources. That money belongs to us. Michael, I turned to my son. Is this what you want? He couldn't meet my eyes. Mom, just sign it. Please. Jessica says it's fair. The room held its breath. 40 witnesses to a son choosing sides, and he hadn't chosen his mother. Fair? I stood slowly, facing Jessica. Let's talk about fair. Should I list what I've paid for in your house? The groceries you never bought? The utilities I covered when Michael lost his job? The down payment gift that's the only reason you have that house? Jessica's face flushed. Ancient history. That was a gift. You said so yourself. Everything I did was a gift, I replied. Out of love, not obligation. The room erupted in whispers. Mrs. Henderson loudly said, "This is disgraceful." Jessica spun to face the crowd. "She's lying. We've supported her completely. She was homeless, practically destitute. We took her in out of pity." "I had a job," I said quietly. "I had savings. I moved in because Michael begged me to, said you needed help with the house after you got laid off." "That's not—" Jessica started. "Should I show everyone the text messages?" I pulled out my phone. October 15th, 3 years ago. "Mom, please come stay with us. Jessica lost her job and we need help with the mortgage, just until things get better." Michael finally spoke. "Mom, don't do this here." "Where then, Michael? In private, where Jessica can manipulate you more." I looked around the room. These people should know what kind of person they're dining with. Jessica slammed her hand on the table. "Sign the papers, Sarah. You owe us. That lottery money is partly ours, morally, ethically, legally." "Legally?" Robert Martinez spoke up from his table. "I'd be very interested to hear your legal theory, Mrs. Foster." Jessica glared at him. "Who the hell are you?" "The family lawyer," Robert said calmly. "And I can assure you, there's no legal basis for your claim." That's when Jessica picked up her wine glass, still half full of expensive Merlot. The wine hit my face before I could react. Cold, red, dripping down my cream-colored dress. The room exploded, chairs scraping, people shouting, phones capturing every second. "You selfish bitch!" Jessica screamed. "We gave you everything!" Michael grabbed his wife's arm. "Jessica, stop!" But she wrenched free, grabbing another glass from the table. Security rushed in. The restaurant manager must have called them. 2 servers appeared with towels. I stood there, wine dripping from my chin, staining my dress, and felt peaceful. Completely at peace, because this public display of Jessica's true nature was exactly what I'd needed. "Ma'am, are you all right?" A server handed me towels, his hands shaking. "I'm perfect," I said, slowly wiping my face. The room watched in stunned silence as I cleaned myself with deliberate calm. "Jessica, thank you." "Thank me?" She laughed harshly. "For what?" "For showing everyone exactly who you are." I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. "And for doing it on camera." The realization hit her like a physical blow. She looked around at 40 phones pointed at her, at the security guards blocking the exit, at her husband's horrified face. "I want her arrested." Jessica pointed at me. "She's stealing from us." The security guard looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, you just assaulted someone. We've called the police." "No!" Michael stepped forward. "Please, this is a family matter." I scrolled through my contacts, found Robert's number. "Robert, I think it's time." "Already on my way to your table." His voice came through the speaker. Jessica's face went white. "What do you mean, it's time?" I sat back down, still covered in wine, and smiled. "You wanted to make this legal, Jessica? Let's make it legal." Robert arrived at our table carrying a leather briefcase, his presence commanding immediate attention. 6 feet tall, silver-haired, wearing a perfectly tailored suit, he looked every inch the successful attorney he was. "Mrs. Foster," he addressed Jessica formally, "I believe you should sit down." "I don't take orders from—" "Sit down, Jessica." Michael's voice carried a warning I'd never heard before. "Please." She sat, but her defiance remained. "Whatever show you're planning won't change anything. She owes us." Robert placed his briefcase on the table, the clicks of the locks echoing in the silent room. "Sarah, are you certain you want to proceed?" I nodded. "They brought legal documents to a family dinner. They made their choice." "What legal documents?" Jessica snapped. "What are you talking about?" Robert pulled out a folder. "Mrs. Foster, are you aware that taking loans in someone else's name constitutes identity theft?" The color drained from Jessica's face. "I don't know what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts." Robert's voice was ice. 5 separate loans taken out using Sarah Foster's Social Security number, her forged signature, her credit history. Michael jerked back. "What, Jessica, what is he talking about? It's lies!" Jessica stood up. "They're trying to frame me." "Frame you?" Robert pulled out another document. "This is a federal investigation notice. The FBI has been monitoring your activities for 6 months." Gasps echoed through the room. Several guests stepped back, as if crime was contagious. "Mom," Michael turned to me, his face twisted in confusion. "You knew?" "I found out 6 months ago, when a bank called about a loan I never took. I hired Robert, who brought in investigators." I met my son's eyes. "I waited, Michael. I waited to see if you were involved." The next 20 minutes felt like hours. Robert had called for additional documentation to be brought from his office. Jessica sat rigid, her lawyer's mind clearly racing through possibilities. Michael stood frozen between his wife and mother, looking lost. The restaurant guests whispered among themselves, nobody leaving despite the late hour. This was better than any reality show. "You can't prove anything," Jessica finally said, but her voice wavered. "Can't I?" I pulled out my own folder, the one I'd hidden in my purse. "March 15th, Bank of America, downtown branch. You wore your red suit, the one you're so proud of. Signed my name 5 times. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. "April 2nd, Wells Fargo. You told them you were me, that I'd lost my ID. The manager noted it seemed suspicious, but you charmed him." "How could you possibly?" "May 10th, Credit Union. This time, you had a fake ID made. That was your mistake, Jessica. Federal crime." Emily spoke up from her table. "Sarah, I can't believe you went through this alone." "I wasn't alone," I said, looking at Robert. "Tom always said, Sarah, never let anyone mistake your kindness for weakness. He made sure I'd have protection if I needed it." Michael finally found his voice. "Mom, why didn't you tell me?" "Because I needed to know if you were part of it, sweetheart. Every night, I watched you sign papers she put in front of you without reading them. Were you guilty or just blind?" "I would never. Mom, you know I would never." "I know that now." I touched his hand. "But Jessica counted on that blindness. She counted on your trust, just like she counted on my silence." Jessica's phone buzzed. She looked at it and went even paler. This is where everything changes. Have you ever had a moment where you finally stood up to someone who's been taking advantage of you? That moment when enough is finally enough? Share your story in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this story resonates with you, please subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The look on Jessica's face when she realized she'd been caught, it was worth every minute of those 6 months of silence. Now, let me tell you about the documents that changed everything and why Jessica's phone call made her panic. Robert's assistant arrived with a box of documents. The young man looked nervous, aware he was walking into something significant. The entire restaurant had gone quiet. Even the kitchen staff were peering through the service windows. "Ladies and gentlemen," Robert addressed the room, "what you're about to witness is a matter of public record. Mrs. Sarah Foster has chosen transparency." Jessica stood up. "This is harassment. I'm calling my lawyer." "Please do," Robert said calmly. "In fact, I insist. They'll want to know about the charges being filed." "What charges?" Michael's voice cracked. Robert pulled out this first document. "Identity theft, wire fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit financial fraud." He looked directly at Jessica. "Your business debts, the $900,000. They were never from failed ventures, were they?" "Don't answer that," Jessica hissed at herself, the lawyer in her finally taking control. "She doesn't need to," Robert continued. "We have the casino records, the online gambling sites, the cryptocurrency losses, all under accounts created with Sarah's information." The room gasped collectively. Mrs. Henderson loudly declared, "I knew something was off about her." "You gambled away $900,000? Michael stared at his wife in horror. "It was investing," Jessica snapped. "Crypto is investing." "Crypto purchased with your mother-in-law's stolen identity is theft," Robert corrected, "and the FBI has every transaction." I stood up, still wearing my wine-stained dress like armor. "Jessica, you had every opportunity to come clean. Every single day for 6 months, I waited for you to tell the truth." "You set me up!" She pointed at me, her hand shaking. "This whole dinner, you planned this!" "No, Jessica. You planned this when you brought that debt agreement. I just prepared better." Robert pulled out a thick document bound in blue. "This is Sarah Foster's new last will and testament, executed 1 week ago, witnessed and notarized." Michael's legs seemed to give out. He slumped into a chair. "Mom, no. Let me read the relevant section." Robert adjusted his glasses. "To my son, Michael Foster, I leave the sum of $1, as he has already received his inheritance through my financial support during his marriage." $1? Jessica shrieked. $1 fucking? Jessica! Michael grabbed her arm. Robert continued reading. "The remainder of my estate, including all lottery winnings, investments, and properties, will be placed in trust for my grandchildren's education, with the remainder going to the Tom Foster Cancer Research Foundation." "You can't do this!" Jessica lunged toward me, but security stepped in. "It's done," I said simply. "Signed, witnessed, filed with the court." "But Mom," Michael's eyes filled with tears, "I'm your son, your only child. And you stood there while your wife planned to rob me. You handed me that envelope yourself, Michael, in front of everyone." The room was silent, except for Jessica's heavy breathing. "However," Robert raised his hand, "there is a codicil, a provision for change." Both Michael and Jessica looked up with desperate hope. Should Michael Foster divorce Jessica Foster within 6 months and complete a court-approved financial counseling program, the will shall be amended to include him as beneficiary of 25% of the estate. 25% of $2 million is still... Jessica started calculating. "Oh," I interrupted. "Did I mention? The lottery was $2 million, but Tom's life insurance, his investments, the properties he left me, the total estate is worth approximately $10 million. The sound of Jessica fainting was surprisingly quiet, just a soft thud as she hit the carpet. While restaurant staff rushed to help Jessica, Robert continued pulling out documents. Each one landed on the table like a hammer blow. "Security footage from Bank of America." He placed printed screenshots down. "Clear images of Mrs. Jessica Foster signing documents as Sarah Foster." Michael looked at the images, his face crumbling. That's her red suit. Her favorite suit. "Bank statements showing transfers from accounts opened in Sarah's name to Jessica's personal accounts." Another stack of papers. "Then from Jessica's accounts to various online gambling sites." "She told me she was investing our savings," Michael whispered. "She said she was building our future." Emily spoke up from her table. "Sarah, how long have you been investigating this?" 6 months, I replied. 6 months of watching her buy designer clothes with my stolen identity while telling me I was a burden. Jessica stirred on the floor, groaning. 2 servers helped her to a chair. Her perfect makeup was smeared, her expensive dress wrinkled. "You okay, ma'am?" one server asked. She pushed him away. "Get off me!" Robert pulled out his phone. "I should mention, the FBI agents are waiting outside. They wanted to give you time to finish dinner, Sarah." "FBI?" Jessica tried to stand but swayed. "You called the FBI?" "No," I said. "The bank did. When they noticed suspicious patterns, I just cooperated with their investigation." "Michael," Jessica grabbed her husband's arm, Tell them I had permission. You saw me managing the finances." Michael pulled away from her. "You said you were paying bills. You said you were investing our savings, not stealing from my mother. Your mother, who was living free in our house. My mother, who paid our mortgage for 6 months when you were between jobs." The FBI agents entered quietly, 2 professionals in dark suits who commanded immediate authority. The lead agent, a woman with steel gray hair, approached our table. "Jessica Foster?" she asked formally. Jessica's lawyer instincts kicked in. "I'm not speaking without an attorney present." "That's your right," the agent replied. "We're placing you under arrest for identity theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial fraud. You have the right to remain silent." As they read Jessica her rights, the restaurant patrons watched in stunned silence. Phones captured every moment, the handcuffs clicking, Jessica's designer heels catching on the carpet as they led her out. "Wait!" Michael called out. "Where are you taking her?" "Federal Detention Center for processing." the agent replied. "Bail hearing will be Monday morning." "Mom," Michael turned to me, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, please, don't do this. She's my wife." "She's a criminal who stole from your mother," Robert interjected. "Sarah didn't do this. Jessica did." I walked over to my son, touched his face gently. For 6 months, I waited. I gave her every chance to come clean. Instead, she planned this. I gestured to the scattered debt papers. This ambush. "But prison? Mom, she could go to prison." "Yes," I said simply. "That's what happens when you commit federal crimes." Jessica managed one last venomous look over her shoulder. "You'll regret this, Sarah. Michael will never forgive you." "That's his choice," I called back, "just like this was yours." The agents led her out into the night. Through the windows, we could see the FBI sedan, the flashing lights reflecting off the restaurant's windows. Several guests had followed outside, still recording. Michael collapsed back into his chair, looking like a lost child. Robert connected his laptop to the restaurant's display screen. The manager, sensing the historic nature of the moment, had offered it without being asked. "This is from March 15th, 2:47 p.m., Robert narrated as grainy security footage began playing. There was Jessica, clear as day, at the bank counter. The video showed her signing documents, laughing with the bank manager, sliding papers across the counter. The timestamp never lied. April 2nd, 11:15 a.m. Another video. Jessica at a different bank, handing over documents, receiving cash. May 10th. This time, the video showed her presenting an ID to a credit union employee. The fake ID was traced to a website that the FBI was already monitoring. Michael watched each video in horror. She really did it. All of it. "There's more," Robert said quietly. "Your joint account, Michael. She's been slowly draining it too." "What?" Michael pulled out his phone, frantically checking his banking app. His face went white. There's only $200 left. We had $30,000 in savings." "Check the transaction history," I suggested gently. He scrolled, his hands shaking. Casino transfers, cryptocurrency purchases, cash withdrawals, all while I was at work. He looked up at me. "Mom, I swear I didn't know." "I believe you," I said. "That's why the FBI isn't arresting you too." Mrs. Henderson spoke up. "That woman sat in my charity committee, talking about helping the less fortunate while stealing from her own mother-in-law." The manager approached our table. "Mrs. Foster, would you like us to call you a car? This must be overwhelming." "No, thank you," I replied. "I'm exactly where I need to be, surrounded by witnesses to the truth." The restaurant had mostly emptied now, leaving just close friends and family. Michael sat across from me, his face aged 10 years in one night. "Mom," he started, then stopped, unable to find words. "You have a choice to make, Michael," I said firmly. "Your wife or your family. Not just me. Think about your future children. Do you want them raised by someone who could do this?" "We don't have children yet," he mumbled. "Thank God for that," Emily muttered from the next table. "She's my wife," Michael repeated, as if trying to convince himself. "For better or worse." "This is definitely worse," Robert observed. "Federal prison worse." Michael's phone rang. Jessica's number from the detention center. He stared at it, letting it ring. "Aren't you going to answer?" I asked. What would I say? He let it go to voicemail. That I'm sorry? That I'll wait for her? That I'll pay for her lawyer with the $200 she left me? The phone immediately rang again. This time, he declined the call. "Michael," I leaned forward, "I need to know. If I hadn't found out, if tonight had gone her way, would you have let her take everything from me?" He was quiet for a long moment. Around us, servers quietly cleaned tables, pretending not to listen. "I want to say no," he finally whispered. "But honestly, she would have convinced me it was right. She always did." He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "How did I become this person, Mom? How did I become someone who would hurt you?" "You fell in love with the wrong person," I said simply. "It happens. The question now is, what are you going to do about it?" He stood up slowly, pulled out his phone, and dialed a number. "Who are you calling?" I asked. "A divorce lawyer." The next morning's news hit social media like wildfire. "Lottery winner's daughter-in-law arrested at celebration dinner," read the headlines. The videos had gone viral, millions of views of Jessica throwing wine, of the FBI leading her away, of my calm response. Michael had spent the night at my hotel, unable to face going home. We sat watching the news coverage over breakfast. "The suspect faces up to 15 years in federal prison," the reporter announced. "Sources indicate this may be part of a larger pattern of fraud." Michael's phone hadn't stopped ringing. Jessica's family, mutual friends, everyone wanting to know what happened. He'd turned it off eventually. "Mom," he said suddenly, "there's something else you should know." My coffee cup paused midway to my lips. "What?" "Last month, Jessica mentioned taking out life insurance on you, said it was prudent planning." Robert, who'd joined us for breakfast, immediately pulled out his phone. "I'll notify the FBI. That could indicate intent to—" "No!" Michael interrupted. "I refused to sign anything. It was the only time I ever told her no about money." He looked at me. Maybe somewhere deep down, I knew something was wrong. "You protected me," I said softly. "When it mattered most, you protected me." His phone buzzed with a text from the detention center. Jessica had made bail. Her parents had put up their house as collateral. "She's out," Michael said flatly. "She'll come looking for me." "Let her," I replied. "You're staying with me until the divorce is final." "Mom, I can't." "Yes, you can, and you will." I took his hand. "We're family, real family, and real family doesn't keep score in notebooks." He broke down then, sobbing like the little boy who used to run to me with scraped knees. 3 days later, we returned to Michael's house with a police escort to collect his belongings. Jessica had destroyed everything she could, cut up his clothes, smashed his computer, even torn up photos of us together. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd done it all on camera. Their home security system had recorded everything. "More evidence for the divorce," Michael's lawyer said, documenting the damage. We found the notebook, Jessica's infamous notebook where she'd tracked every penny. But reading it revealed something unexpected. The entries went back 5 years, starting before Tom had died. She'd been planning this from the beginning, calculating what she thought I'd be worth when Tom passed. "She married me for this," Michael said numbly, reading her notes, "to get to Dad's money through you." One entry was particularly chilling. "Tom's cancer progressing. Estate estimated at 8 to 10 million. Must ensure Sarah moves in with us after." "She knew Tom was worth that much?" I asked Robert. "Public records," he replied. "Property deeds, business filings. A determined person could piece it together." Michael threw the notebook across the room. 5 years! Our entire marriage was a lie. "Not entirely," I said gently. "Your love was real. That counts for something." We packed what we could salvage. As we left, neighbors watched from windows. Mrs. Chen from next door actually applauded. "Thank you for exposing her," she called out. "She tried to get me to invest in her ventures, too." "How many other people did she try to scam?" Michael wondered aloud. "The FBI will find out," Robert assured him. "This investigation is just beginning." That night, Michael filed for divorce and a restraining order. Jessica was served the next morning, in front of her colleagues at the law firm where she worked. They fired her that afternoon. A week after the arrest, Michael and I finally had the conversation we'd both been avoiding. We sat in my new apartment. I'd moved out of the hotel into a beautiful place overlooking the river, finally using some of that lottery money for myself. "Mom, I need to say this," Michael began. "I failed you. As a son, as a man, I failed you." "Michael! No, please let me finish." He took a shaky breath. "When Dad died, he told me to take care of you. Instead, I let Jessica convince me that you were taking care of us. I let her turn me against you, little by little." "She was very good at manipulation," I offered. "That's not an excuse. I chose to believe her lies because it was easier than standing up to her." He met my eyes. Every time she made those comments about you being a burden, I should have defended you. Every time she tracked expenses in that notebook, I should have thrown it away. You were in love, I said. Love makes us blind sometimes. Dad would be ashamed of me. Your father would be proud that you're facing the truth now. I reached across and took his hands. Tom always said people show their true character not in their mistakes, but in how they fix them. How do I fix this, Mom? How do I fix 5 years of letting you down? By doing better going forward. By getting help to understand how this happened. By making sure you never let anyone manipulate you again. The therapy starts Monday, he said. Individual and group sessions for people who've been in abusive relationships. Jessica was abusive? Financial abuse is abuse, Mom. The therapist explained it. She isolated me from you, controlled our finances, gaslit me about reality. It's textbook. We sat in comfortable silence watching the river flow by. Michael, I said, pulling out a folder I'd been keeping, there's something else we need to discuss. He tensed. More bad news? No, sweetheart. Good news. I opened the folder, revealing bank statements. This is a trust fund I set up the day after I won the lottery, $500,000 for your future children's education. His jaw dropped. But you said everything was going to charity. I said that in anger. This was always for your children. Jessica could never touch it. I showed him the documents. But there are conditions. Of course there are, he said, but he was almost smiling. First, the divorce must be final. Second, you complete therapy. Third, any future spouse signs a prenuptial agreement. And fourth, you let me be part of your children's lives. Mom, of course you'll be part of their lives. You'll be the best grandmother. He stopped. Wait, children? I don't have any children. Not yet, I smiled. But you will someday. With someone who loves you for you, not for what they can take from you. After Jessica, I don't think I can trust anyone again. You will. It takes time, but you will. I pulled out another document. There's also this, a job offer from Tom's old company. They need a project manager. Robert put in a word. Mom, I can't take charity. It's not charity. You're qualified. They need someone. And frankly, you need a fresh start away from Jessica's influence. He read through the offer. This is incredible. The salary, the benefits. Your father's friends remember you as a bright young man before Jessica dimmed your light. They want to help you shine again. Why? He asked, tears in his eyes. Why are you doing all this after what I did? Because you're my son, and mothers don't give up on their children. The federal courthouse was packed the day of Jessica's arraignment. Media, curious public, and what looked like other victims of her schemes filled the gallery. Michael sat beside me, his divorce lawyer on his other side. Jessica entered in an orange jumpsuit, her designer image completely shattered. Her lawyer, a public defender since her parents had spent everything on bail, looked overwhelmed. How does the defendant plead? The judge asked. Not guilty, Your Honor, Jessica said, her voice barely audible. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, we've uncovered additional victims. The defendant has been running similar schemes for 7 years, targeting elderly relatives of romantic partners. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Michael grabbed my hand. We're asking for remand without bail. The defendant is a flight risk and has already attempted to transfer hidden assets overseas. That's a lie, Jessica shouted, then caught herself. I mean, Your Honor, that's incorrect. The prosecutor presented evidence. Bank records from the Cayman Islands, cryptocurrency wallets, a storage unit full of goods purchased with stolen identities. Furthermore, the prosecutor continued, we have 3 previous partners willing to testify about similar schemes in other states. Michael whispered, 3 others? She did this before me? The judge reviewed the evidence. Bail is revoked. The defendant will remain in custody until trial. No! Jessica screamed. Michael, tell them! Tell them I'm innocent! Michael stood up. The courtroom fell silent. The only thing you're innocent of, he said clearly, is having a conscience. As they led Jessica away, she screamed threats and obscenities. The judge added contempt of court to her charges. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. "Mrs. Foster, how does it feel to see justice served?" "It feels like the first day of the rest of our lives," I answered, holding my son's hand. 6 weeks after the dinner, I established what I called the new rules. Michael had moved into a small apartment near his new job, and we met for dinner every Sunday, but with boundaries. "Rule 1, I said over pasta at a quiet restaurant. "We never discuss money unless it's necessary." "Agreed," Michael nodded. "Rule 2, you make your own decisions. I'll offer advice only when asked." "That's fair." "Rule 3, any future partner meets me within 3 months of dating, not 3 years." He actually laughed. "I don't think I'll be dating for a very long time, Mom." "You'd be surprised. When you're ready, you're ready." "And Rule 4? We never ever keep secrets that could hurt each other. If you're in trouble, you tell me. If I'm in trouble, I tell you." "What kind of trouble could you get into?" he asked, smiling. "You'd be surprised what a 58-year-old woman with money can find," I winked. We were building something new. Not the relationship we had before, but something more honest. Michael was seeing his therapist twice a week, attending support groups, and throwing himself into his new job. "My therapist says I was codependent," he told me one evening, "that I gave Jessica control because it was easier than making decisions myself. And now? Now I'm learning to trust my own judgment, starting with small things, what to eat, what to wear, without asking someone else's opinion. I'm proud of you." "Mom, can I ask you something? Do you regret giving me another chance?" "Never," I said firmly. "You're my son. You made mistakes, but you're fixing them. That takes courage. Dad would have handled it differently. Your father would have done exactly what I did, protected the family while giving you a chance to make things right." The trial made national news. "Black Widow of Finance," the headlines screamed as more victims came forward. 12 elderly parents, 3 previous partners, 2 charity organizations. Jessica had left a trail of financial destruction across 5 states. She got 12 years federal prison, no parole possibility for 7. The judge called her a predator who weaponized family relationships for greed. Michael had to testify. He spoke clearly about the manipulation, the isolation from me, the slow drain of his self-worth. His testimony helped convict her. "How do you feel?" I asked him afterward. "Free," he said simply. "For the first time in 5 years, I feel free." The divorce was final a month before the criminal trial. Michael got nothing. Jessica had hidden or spent everything, but he didn't care. "I got my life back," he said. "That's worth more than money." He was thriving at work, had made new friends, even started running marathons. The therapy had transformed him from a shell of a man back into the son I remembered. I used the lottery money wisely. The Cancer Research Foundation Tom wanted, scholarships for nursing students, a fund for elderly fraud victims. The money that had almost destroyed our family now helped others. "I saw the news about your donations," Michael said over dinner. $5 million to various causes. Tom would have wanted it that way. "You kept $5 million, though?" "2 for me to live comfortably, 3 in trust for future grandchildren." I smiled. "Your children will never want for education or opportunities." "Mom, about that..." He looked nervous. "I've met someone." My eyebrows rose. "Already?" "She's in my support group, another survivor of financial abuse. We're taking it very, very slowly." "Good," I said. "Bring her to dinner when you're ready. No rush." A year after that terrible dinner, I stood in front of a room full of senior citizens at the community center, sharing my story as part of a fraud awareness program. "The money never mattered," I told them. 2 million, 10 million, it's just numbers in a bank. What mattered was discovering my own worth. An elderly man raised his hand. "But how did you stay so calm when she threw that wine?" "Because I knew my value wasn't in how others treated me, but in how I chose to respond. She could stain my dress, but not my dignity." After the talk, a woman approached me. "My daughter-in-law is doing something similar, keeping track of expenses, making me feel guilty for existing." Document everything, I advised. And remember, you don't owe anyone payment for being family. These talks had become my mission. I'd spoken at 50 senior centers, warning about financial elder abuse. The FBI even invited me to help train agents on recognizing family fraud patterns. Michael attended one of my talks. Afterward, he said, "Mom, you've turned our nightmare into something meaningful." "Pain becomes powerful when it protects others," I replied, something Tom used to say. The truth was, losing that false family, the one built on manipulation and greed, had given me space to build a real one. I had deeper friendships, stronger boundaries, and a son who'd learned hard lessons about character. "Do you ever regret not knowing about Jessica sooner?" Michael asked once. "No. If I'd known sooner, you might not have learned what you needed to learn. Sometimes we need to hit bottom to bounce back higher." And we bounced. We soared, sweetheart. We absolutely soared. That night, I looked at Tom's photo. "I protected our son," I whispered, "just like you asked." 2 years after the dinner, Michael and I sat in Robert's office for what he called the final revelation. Michael's girlfriend, Anna, was with us, a sweet kindergarten teacher who treated him with genuine love. "Sarah, it's time to tell Michael everything," Robert said. "Tell me what?" Michael looked confused. I took a deep breath. "The lottery ticket wasn't random. I bought it the day after I discovered Jessica's first fraudulent loan." Michael's mouth fell open. "You mean—" "I knew she'd escalate if she thought I had money, so I gave her the opportunity to show her true colors publicly." "The whole dinner was a trap?" "A test," I corrected. "If she'd been happy for us, celebrated genuinely, I would have helped with her debts, but I knew she wouldn't. The FBI knew she wouldn't. We just needed witnesses." "Mom, that's brilliant and terrifying." Robert pulled out one final document. "Your father left something else, Michael. A letter, to be opened only after Jessica was dealt with." Michael read his father's handwriting aloud. "Son, if you're reading this, your mother has protected you from someone who meant you harm. I knew she would. She's stronger than she appears. I also know you're probably feeling guilty. Don't. Sometimes we need to lose everything false to find everything real. Trust your mother. Trust yourself. And next time, trust love that builds you up, not tears you down. All my love, Dad." Michael broke down crying. Anna held him while I rubbed his back. "He knew?" Michael asked through tears. "He suspected you'd face challenges. He made sure I'd have the resources to protect you when you needed it. $10 million of resources. The money was just a tool. The real resource was knowing your true worth, and mine." That was 5 years ago. Today, Michael is happily married to Anna, and they have twin daughters. Tom's granddaughters he never got to meet, but somehow knew would come. Jessica is still in prison, her appeals denied. And me? I'm not the quiet widow who moved into her son's guest room anymore. I'm the woman who stood up in a wine-stained dress and chose dignity over drama. Who turned family betrayal into community protection. Who learned that real wealth isn't in lottery tickets or inheritance. It's in knowing your worth and defending it. If my story taught me anything, it's that setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's necessary. That family isn't about blood or marriage certificates. It's about respect and genuine love. And sometimes, just sometimes, the biggest surprise you can give someone who tries to scam you is showing them you knew all along. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. If you've ever had to stand up to family members who took advantage of your kindness, you're not alone. Please share your story in the comments. This community understands. Hit subscribe if this resonated with you, and click the notification bell so you don't miss my next story. Remember, your worth isn't determined by what others think you owe them. It's determined by how you value yourself. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know below. And please, share this with someone who needs to hear it.